Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. Glad to have you back for another great episode. Really excited to be talking to you today. Hope you've been listening and enjoying. Maybe this is your first time at the Dental Wealth Podcast, and we welcome you if it is. Today I want to talk. Actually, I'm gonna open just right, literally out of my journal today. I was sitting there thinking in my journal, and I was kind of every morning I kind of really spend some time journaling and thinking through my vision and a lot of other things. And it has a lot to do with wealth and this dental practice, and the reason why a lot of you listen to a podcast like this. And so in this, by the way, this is a podcast I would probably definitely have a pen and paper for. Definitely you want to write some things down because I want you to work through the exercises. When you listen to this podcast, one of the things I'm doing for you is, I'm taking my, years and years and years and years and years and years and years of knowledge and experience, and I'm giving it to you for free. I mean, I'm just passing things along. This is my passion, to educate people and help people get better and improve their business so that they can impact other people. And so I love bringing this podcast to you, but one of the things you want to do is you want to get from this podcast. I'm not going to sit here and talk about politics or things like that, or try to bloviate. Every time I do this, I really want to bring you a message or something to work on. And so today I started thinking about, I always tell people in this podcast, I get marketers believe that I'm a dentist, whatever profile in Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever happens, because of what I look at, what I click on, then I'm often targeted as a dentist. So I see a lot of the same ads as many of you. And a lot of the ads out there, and in fact, most consultants will use like grow. And it's exciting to think about growth. And in fact, we're taught like we always want to grow. We want to, from a young age, we want to grow to be an adult. We want to grow in our education. We want to grow in our marriage. The word grow, in a sense, is being manipulated because people know that people love the word grow. And so when we think about a business, we go, well, you're supposed to grow a business. A successful business owner grows their business. Now, I can't argue with that. I think you should be growing a business, but it's more important to know and be specific around why you're growing this business. And it's something that you've got to really own. And if you want to be a better leader, if you want to make more money, if you want to have more net, because one of my biggest arguments, one of the things that we do at Tower that I don't know anyone else that does, maybe there is, I just don't know, is you can grow, but then what do you do with the money? Like, what do you do after that? I've told you before in this podcast, if you've listened to it, I would not put it into qualified funds, and that's a huge mistake. So where do you put it? How do you invest it? How does that go into your financial strategy? And so all these things matter. So what happens is, so I want you to write down your target. So write down my target on your piece of paper. And so what is it that I really want? By the way, you don't want growth. That's actually not what you want. There's something that you're going after. And so what happens is like, for instance, I mean, there's an old sales line that says people don't buy the steak, they buy the sizzle. They don't buy the drill, they buy the hole. There's really ideally something you want for your life. And ultimately people say, well, I want more time and money. That is true. We all want more time and money. I don't know anybody who does not want more time and money. Is that fair? We all want more time and money. But why do you want more time and money? I mean, what does that look like for you? And I think that's where there's such a miss in this, because people just go, and by the way, marketing people go back and sell you that you should have more time and money. And then you'll buy their product or service because you think that it's going to, but you don't even know why you're buying it. It's just that someone sold you a word that sounded really great. So these, consultant types get on there and they're, well, you're going to grow your practice. I have met people who took their practice from 800 grand to 1.8 million and are miserable. And in fact, I remember being at a workshop one time, and I said to all the doctors in the room, I said, how many of you would love to double your practice in the next 12 months? And like every doctor raised their hand. And then I said to him, okay, what if you didn't double at all, but you didn't have to work clinically and you made the same amount of money? Would you trade off the growth for that? And every doctor raised their hand. Of course I would. And so then it's like, well, then actually, what do you want? Because if you did technically have the same revenue, but you were able to not work clinically, maybe we would adjust the revenue. But if you didn't have to work clinically, so you had time, and then you had even the money you had now, most doctors say, well, gosh, that's what I would want. I don't want to have to work clinically. Being around doctors for so many years, I know a lot of you love to work clinically, but being able to see the patients the patients you want to be able to see, that's what scalability is all about. So what happens is, what I'm getting at is the marketplace, society, consultants, marketers manipulate what you want and turn it around to get you to take action towards their product or service. I think it's more important to ask the question, which is truly this, and that's why I want you to do this exercise by yourself, don't let others tell you what you want. And in fact, sometimes we get manipulated. And by the way, we're competitive. So, I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably a competitive person, because most people that would want to listen to a podcast to get ahead is technically a competitive person. And so we let our competitiveness influence us. We want to have a bigger practice than our friends. And look, I've spent my entire career growing businesses. And so I get that. But I ask you this question because we let others tell us what we want. And so we just find ourselves running down this rabbit hole. And then one day we wake up and we're just miserable as hell. And we're like, yeah, I make a lot more money, but I never see my kids, or I never see my wife, or I don't get to do what I want to do. And I feel stressed out. And it's like, okay, well, that's not what you wanted then. Because what you said what you wanted was growth, and let's assume that growth came with a tremendous amount of stress, more hours, more debt. And you were like, I hate my life. And yeah, I make more money, but I don't really get to enjoy it. Is that what you want? I don't think you'd say yes. I don't think you would say yes to that. I think you'd say, no, not at all, Eric. I don't want any of that. Okay, so then what do we want? And by the way, when I'm creating a financial game plan for somebody, I'm thinking, hey, the first question I ask somebody is, what do you want? What do you want? And that's some people ask me that before. Like, what is the first question you ask somebody? I always ask them, like, what do you want? I always tell people, like, tell me what you want and I'll show you how to get it. But you got to tell me what you want first and I'll build it out. And so I'm going to give a dental example, so you hear what I'm saying and give you it. So I had a group of dentists one time come visit me, and it was, I want to say 4 partners. It's probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was 4 or 5 partners, big practice, by the way, 9 locations. Came to me and they said, we heard you were the guy to take us to 100 million. We heard you were the guy. And I said, well, yeah, I could take you to 100 million. I absolutely know how to do that. Whoever told you I could do that is correct. I can take you to 100 million. And I looked at the 4 partners and I said, why do you want to be 100 million? Because before we build this out, we got to, by the way, if you're going to go get investment capital, for those of you who want that, you need to know why you want to go even get investment capital, because there's a time to take that on if you were going to do that. So I said, what is it you want, and what's the ideal outcome for all of you? And by the time, it took us about 4.5 hours, by the way, to get there. Do you know that when we got done with that conversation, they wanted 1 location with 24 operatories? Now, they had already gotten to 9 locations. And it was so interesting that, and by the way, one of them, I'm not going to divulge too much detail in case anyone has any clue what I'm talking about, but one of them had a medical condition, and so it was affecting his life. And so, like, I think more important for him was to be able to spend time with family. So I think that when we look at things like this, we go, hey, look, what does somebody want? What does somebody really truly want? And what do you truly want? Because by the way, how much time, energy, stress, and capital did they spend getting to 9 locations, which they didn't even want? Someone told him you just grow. And by the way, I'm all about growing, but it's got to be around what you want. So I want you to understand that when you write down my target, I want you to write down, what do I really want? Great question. One of the things I said a few podcasts ago is you need a better set of questions. Well, I want more time. No, that's not what you really want. I want more money. No, that's not really what you want. That's not what you want. You want what that provides for you. Okay? So not what I want more money. Well, if you had $5 million in the bank account, $10 million in the bank account, but you couldn't get access to it, would that make you, is that really what you want? No, probably not. Okay. So no, I really want the ability to spend more time with my kids before they go off to college. I want to be able to, whatever it is for you. I don't want to fill in the blank there. I want you to write down under my target. I want you to write down, what do I really want? Then I want you to write down, what is my desired outcome? What is my desired outcome? So what is that? What do I want? What is the best outcome? What result am I committed to achieving now? Like, what am I committed to? So let me give an example of what I mean by that. I want $100 million location. Well, what am I committed to now? Well, I'm committed to one more location. That might be because by the way, that might be what you're committed to now and based on what you want, or I'm committed to spending more time with my family. I'm committed to whatever it is you're going to commit to. And it's like, okay, this is what I want. So what am I going to commit to right now? I'm going to put a line in the sand and say, I must have this now. What do I want? Why do I want it? Like, why? And so that's what we're about to get to is the why in a second. But I want you to think about that before everyone starts to tell you grow, grow, grow. And you go to some dental conference and they're like, grow, grow, grow. By the way, not to be egotistical, but I'm really good at growing dental practices. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm trying to say is like, get focused in as a leader and a CEO so that you're very clear exactly what you're trying to get. Because most people spend 20, 30 years of time, money, stretch, energy, and capital getting something they didn't even want because society and their friends and everyone else told them what they should have. And if they had done it really smart way and we utilized capital properly, they probably could have had what they wanted within 36 months. And yet here they are 30 years later and they still don't have what they want. And the reason why is because they allowed other people to tell them what they wanted, or let it to people tell them, well, you just grow and you'll get there. Look, if you get really focused on what you want, then you'd be surprised how fast we can get there. Because it's really getting back to that thing. It's like, what is my ideal outcome? Why the hell am I trying to grow this dental practice? Why do I want 50 new patients a month? Why do I want to add scalability in my practice? What would it give me? And why do I want that? And so we started actually getting really focused in on this target and go, man, I'm going to forget what everyone else tells me that I want for my life. Because once you get ironed in, like when you get focused in, like, and you're like, that's my target, you'd be surprised how fast you can get there. I'm talking about like moving mountains. I mean, once it'll get you like flying out of bed because you know exactly how to get there. And you'd be surprised how quickly where that energy is going to go where your focus is. Second. Now, like I once you write down, like, this is what I really want. This is what I really want. Now I want you to write down your reasons. Why is this a must for you? Why is this a must for you? What's my purpose? Why? This is like the why. This is what I want. So step one, what do I want? Step two, why do I want that? So like you got to commit to it. This has got to be a must. So step one is your target. That's what you're trying to, step one is what, hey, this is what I'm trying to get. And why do I want that? That's a question, by the way, that really goes back to the first part of this, which is what I was getting to is, why the hell are you chasing it? Well, this company told me I would grow. Okay, why do you want that? And I rarely have somebody go, this is exactly why I want that, because I'll have scalability. And scalability will allow me to pull back to 2 days. And if I pull def back 2 days, I could do. It's not. People are like, I don't know. They just told me I should grow. Do you guys know what I mean by that? You know what I mean, right? It's like people just want to tell you things and tell you what you want and tell you what you should desire. And it's like, why is this a must for me? Write that down. Why is this a must for me? And must is a different conviction than should. Remember a few podcasts ago, I said vocabulary matters. See, vocabulary matters in that situation when you're writing this is because there's a hell of a big difference between I should go to the gym and I must go to the gym. The conviction's totally different. Should go to the gym means you probably show up once a month. must go to the gym is your ass is there every morning at 5:30. Totally different. They're just completely different. I had a doctor one time, and we were spending some time, and his wife happened to be in the room, and we were talking about, it just kind of had come up, and we were talking about the same kind of concept in one way. And I said, is your fitness, is your health a should or a must? By the way, because if you got to be a great leader. I'm talking about being a great leader. Great leadership. That's one of the reasons you want to become wealthy, and one of the ways to be wealthy is be a great leader. So I said to this doctor, I said, tell me about the weight. And he said, well, I know I should go to the gym, and I should get up out of the bed in the morning, and I should do this, and I should do that, but I'm overweight, and I don't take care of my pill, and I've had some heart issues. And I was like, and I basically looked at him, and I looked at him, and I asked him to look at his wife and tell his wife that he's okay dying and he doesn't care about her. That's like really hard, right? Because I was like, if it's a must for you, to take care of yourself, the difference between the should and the must is that he should go to the gym. But the truth, I was like, it's not compelling enough. I want you to look at, if it's a must, you're like, I will take care of my health because I'm looking at my wife who I love and adore and I care about, and I will not let her down. I am not going to die early of a heart attack. I am not going to have problems. I won't do it to her. I must take care of myself for my family. It's a hell of a lot different than I should take care of myself for my family. Should means he probably ends up, losing 20 years of his life. And that's the same thing with the business. Now, that might seem harsh to some of you, but it's the truth. It's a totally different thing. If it's a must, you find a way to get there. We use must with our kids all the time, don't we? We judge people when they don't do things with their kids, right? So it's like we put must in place. So like if you're going to write a target, don't do it half-assed. Like if you're going to do a target, like write down a target and say, this is my target. This is what's going to happen. Like we're going to make this happen. And it is a must because I am tired of blah, 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 blah. I must make sure that I have excess cash flow. I must be able to pull back out of the chair 2 days a week. I must be able to, this is going to happen. And it's got to be so compelling. Like that's why it's got to be so compelling. Like, why do you want that? So that's why, now I want you to juxtapose the two comments that I was talking about, right? Comment number one is just this thing where it's like, well, I think I should grow because this consultant told me I should grow my practice. And I think if I grow my practice, my financial advisor said I could put more money in my 401k and that'd be good. Is completely different then I must build a giant scalable company that has multiple doctors employed so I can get out of the chair, be the CEO, be the husband, the father, the wife, whatever it is that you need to be so that I can live the life that I've always wanted. I'll have the time and the money and to have the ability to impact others' lives is completely different and comes from a completely different standpoint and a compelling reason than the first, which is what most people come up with. I must spend more time with my family. It is absolutely a must. I must take more vacation. Hell, it might be I must play more golf. I don't know. But it's like I must create a business that lasts without me. I must build a financial legacy that impacts generations. It is a heck of a lot different than I'd like to be able to retire someday. I hope I don't outlive my money. Totally different lives. They're totally different. And what are you willing to do to get there? And see, that's the third part of this is really truly you laying out the strategic steps on that. Because if it's not compelling enough, you're not going to follow through with it. And by the way, I'm talking to you guys about this. I told you it was from my journal. It's the same questions I ask myself. Like, I'm not teaching you or telling you anything I don't do for my own self. This is not, Eric getting on here on some soapbox. I'm telling you about this is what successful people do. It's one of the reasons I told you I'm kind of a fan from an entrepreneur standpoint of Elon Musk. Look, he knows his target. He knows his reason whys, and he knows the next steps to take. And he gets it done. Someone told me recently, it was one hell of a compliment because it came from someone I highly respect. And he said, Eric, the difference between you and other people is everyone else talks and you just make it happen. You're going to find a way to get it done. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. And I want everyone listening to this podcast to be the same type of person. And the last podcast, I was talking about fear, like overcoming that fear and making stuff happen. And by the way, that's not some kind of like bragging thing or ego thing. It's just saying, look, I want you to have those things so that you can have the life you want. Ultimately speaking, I want you to have all the resources possible and have all the time, possible, so that because I know that you'll eventually get to a place where you're like, okay, I can go where I want, when I want. I've got the financial resources to do whatever I want. And guess what you do then? You typically go back and change lives, because people always come back to me then at that point and they say, now what? They always say that to me 100% of the time. All right, Eric, I've got the money I need, the time I need. Now what? And that's where the fun begins. That's where the fun begins. And so I'm telling you that you're on a path, but you've got to know what that path is. You've got to know your compelling reason to get out of bed in the morning. You've got to know your compelling reason to go after. I'm telling you, you got to know what that target is, why, and then why you want it, and then what action steps or what are you willing to commit to right now to make that happen? What are you willing to commit to right now to make that happen? It's interesting. Business sometimes goes, you can kind of easily relate it to, in a sense, physical training, because it has a lot of similarities in the way we do things from a repetition standpoint. And I said, I have a trainer. I work out with my trainer probably, anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week. And that's not, by the way, like I'm with the trainer. It's just telling you, like, why do I do that? Because I must be at the gym. I must be in physical shape. And without a trainer, sometimes, guys, I'm the same as you. I don't want to show up. It's an accountability partner. It's someone to make sure I'm doing the things I need to be doing. Those things are must for me. They're a must. My health is a must. And so nothing else happens. People won't buy a trainer. I really will never forget the day I really truly had somebody who was telling me they couldn't afford a trainer as they were paying their $98 like bar tab. I was like, what? It wasn't a priority to them. And that's why it wasn't a must. Going back to the must again. It wasn't a must for them. What are your must? What are your must in life? What are the things you absolutely have to do? And by the way, you already have some. You already have some. So don't let other people tell you what you want. Want what you want. And I don't even care what that is. I can say, Eric, I want to be on a private jet. It doesn't matter to me. Want what you want. Okay? What do you really want? Don't listen to everyone else what you really want. What do you really want out of this life? What do you really want out of this life? What do you want this life to look at? When you're sitting there the last day of your life and you look back and like, I don't want to have regrets. What is it you want? When you look back at your life, say, what is it that I wanted? And did I accomplish that? What do you want? Why do you want it? And what are you willing to do to get there? That's what I want you to focus on. And if you just spend this time, by the way, when this podcast, like if you're not willing to commit some time around this, you're not willing to commit to time to your future. Like you've got to be ironed in on this. This has got to be like a non-negotiable for you. You've got to know this. If I asked you right now, hey, what's your target in life? What are you trying to get accomplished? And you can't tell me, I'm telling you, you're just lost focus. You've got to know what that is, especially as an entrepreneur. You've got to know what that is. You got to be able to tell your spouse. You got to be able to tell your team. You got to be able to tell your friends. What are you focused on doing? And then announce it to the world. And why is it compelling? And how do you make that compelling? You'd be surprised at the people that will support you once you communicate what you want to get accomplished. And by the way, the bigger, just to let you know, the bigger your goals are, the more people will rally around you. I promise you. The bigger your goals are, the more people will rally around you. And so that's what I want you to do on this episode. I want you to take this. I want you to, like, this podcast was designed to transform lives. I want you to take this information. I want you to transform your business, but your business is only a tool. Your business is an asset, one of your assets, and I want you to utilize it to its fullest so that you can live the fullest life you possibly can and you can impact as many people as possible. And that's why this podcast was created. So as I say always, listen, take a podcast like this. This is great stuff. By the way, you can call someone who's not a dentist. This doesn't need to be a dentist. That's just one of your assets. I always tell people, how do you identify yourself? Look, your dental business is just one of your assets, by the way. is a very important asset, but like it's just one of the things, it's an asset. So you can talk to people who aren't dentists, by the way, with this podcast, and share it with someone who's not a dentist. Share it with somebody who is. There's one person in your life who needs to hear this right now. I want you to think about that for a second. Who in your life needs to hear this message right now? Maybe it's your kid. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a colleague. One of the greatest things you can do is take something like this and say, you need to listen to this. I think it would be really compelling. And then I'd love for us to get on the phone and talk about it. Make sure you're getting together to talk about this stuff, because that's where the magic happens. When you guys start talking about it together as a team, and you start talking about your action steps, and you start holding each other accountable, you would be absolutely blown away by what happens. Hey guys, I hope you've enjoyed. See you next time.